Hello there, people of the internet. I've been playing around with cast bullets a lot recently, and I've put up some content of me talking about cast bullets and whatnot. And I've had some people give me suggestions on different ways to get the best possible performance from my cast rounds. And I seem to be hearing the same thing on repeat, and I figured I'd go ahead and I'd make a full-fledged video on how to get the best possible performance from your cast rounds, because everybody's talking about it, and that tells me that a lot of people know a lot about what it means whenever you're casting your own bullets for what it is that you're doing, but that also probably means there's a lot of people that don't. Because if people feel the need to consistently explain these different things that go into casting bullets, that tells me it's not exactly common knowledge, and they're probably explaining it a lot to younger people like me. Well, I definitely know what goes into casting bullets and making them relatively decent, for the most part. So, I appreciate everybody letting me know what to look for with these, but might want to ease up a little bit because I'm hearing the same things on repeat. So whenever it comes to casting your own bullets to send down range, oftentimes it's sung as a, what's the word I'm looking for? Cost-saving measure. It's one of those things that people do because you can cast a bullet for not a lot of money, especially if you manage to score some scrap lead for free. But even if you got to go out and buy it, you can buy scrap lead for $2 a pound, and you make quite a few rounds out of that. So whenever it comes to casting bullets, a lot of people cast bullets for, say, pistol cartridges, because pistol cartridges don't move very fast, and cast bullets work really well for that. A lot of people cast bullets for black powder, because black powder doesn't really push projectiles all that quickly, and lead is absolutely adequate for those velocities. And a lot of people use cast bullets for big bore rifle cartridges, say 4570 in that class of cartridge, just because, again, those really, really big bores tend to have really, really heavy bullets, and those really, really heavy bullets tend to not move all that quickly. So taking everything into consideration, we can see that velocity is a very, very common factor whenever it comes to the consideration of what you want to pay attention to with your cast rounds. That's probably the biggest factor, actually. So with your cast bullets, if you're rocking just a straight cast bullet, typically a straight lead cast bullet, you can probably shoot that thing about 1,400 feet per second and not really have any negative side effects, no real issues. The issue is, whenever we're talking about small bore, high velocity cartridges, say 308, 30-06, 303 British, 7.62x54R, just that class of cartridge that are designed to send, say, a 150 grain bullet at 3,000 feet per second or near that, straight cast bullets really don't work all that well. And that's because you have issues with leading inside of your rifle. And everybody in the comments are like, leading is a problem, leading is a problem. There's ways to make leading a lot less of a problem with these small bore, high velocity cartridges that you're shooting from your rifle. And that's kind of what this video is going to be about. I want to figure out, well, I have figured out, but I'm testing the best possible ways to get the best performance that I absolutely can get from a lot of these different rifle cartridges. But some of the best ways to get good performance from a fast-moving cast lead projectile is, number one, use a hard cast lead. That seems to be the most common thing that everybody screams about. Hard cast lead, add antimony, add tin, add zinc, add some sort of thing inside of your lead. You can look up whatever it is that you have access to, or you decide what it is that you want to put inside your lead. Me, I use tin because it's the easiest and cheapest to acquire, and I can get a lot of it for not a lot of money. But you typically want to add a 5%, say, tin mix or antimony mix or something along those lines in order to make your lead alloy a little bit harder than the soft lead that it normally would be, because lead is a super, super soft material, and that's the problem that we're having here. Lead is super soft. So if you make the bullet considerably harder by adding, say, tin or those other metals that I had talked about, it's going to solve a lot of your problems. On top of that, add a gas check to the base of the bullet. Now, your particular bullet mold, yours might not have a setup that allows for gas checks. So you got to pay attention to how the base of your bullet actually looks. Most of them do, because most of the time, most companies know that you're going to want to gas check a, say, 30 caliber or 6.5 or 7 millimeter or those high velocity small caliber rounds. Most companies know you want a gas check on those, so they make their molds to where you can press a gas check on those things. So press a gas check on that, and what that is, it's like a little copper disc that literally just presses onto the back of the bullet, and that significantly helps with leading, and that allows you to push your bullet faster as it goes down the barrel, because that gas check kind of makes a much harder metal seal with that projectile, and there's nowhere for the lead to really go. If it starts tearing itself apart, you know, the bullet's flying that way at incredible speeds, and the lead is kind of being pushed back against that gas check, and it's a good seal, and there's nowhere for that lead to really go, and that's why the gas check works so well. On top of that, proper lubrication is probably one of the bigger things. There's arguments as to whether or not you should powder coat your rounds or just use some kind of lube for whatever it is you feel like doing. Me, myself, I use beeswax, and I tend to mix it with transmission fluid. And that works really, really well. But you can look up online and find a whole different slew of different kinds of bullet lubes that people use for these things, and they'll claim that it's absolutely incredible. So whatever it is that you feel like doing, by all means, go ahead and make that happen. So proper lubed gassed bullet or gas check bullet that is hard cast, those right there are going to give you your best possible performance. But even then, it's still not going to be as good as what a rifle cartridge would normally be able to produce. With these super hard cast gas check proper lubed bullets, you can probably get about 22, maybe 2,400 feet per second if it's like a super hard cast round. But most of the time, you're going to look about 2,200 feet per second before you start really noticing that you're having issues with leading inside of your barrel. Some people can maybe get 2,300 feet per second if they find like a particular bullet size that works with their particular rifle really, really well. But I'd max out at 22. As a matter of fact, whenever I load my cast load rounds, I load them to 2,000 feet per second. They're hard cast, all of the bells and whistles on the bullet. But I load them to 2,000 feet per second just to make sure that I am not going to have issues with leading inside of my barrel. And leading causes inaccuracies, and I want to try and stay as accurate as possible. So, gas checked bullet, properly lubed, make it hard cast. And people seem to favor oversized bullets. From what I've been able to gather, if you oversize your bullet ever so slightly, then it's going to work exceptionally well inside your rifle. I'm not 100% sure why a stupidly oversized bullet does better inside of a chamber whenever we're talking about cast lead rounds, but it seems to. It tightens up groups a lot. Like, for example, if you're rocking a 308, maybe try running 310 bullets through that 308 to see how well it works. Or if you're rocking a Lee Enfield 303, this particular one is a 311 diameter, and I got 312.5 diameter projectiles that I'm rocking here, so they are slightly oversized. So slightly oversizing your bullets is a really good way to ensure that you get fairly decent accuracy as well. There's just so much that goes into casting bullets. Like, it's to the point where a lot of people don't even worry about it, because of all of the little tiny things that you have to pay attention to. And on top of that, you have to take your rifle out and actually send lead down range with it to see if it likes those particular rounds with that particular style of bullet or that particular hardness at those particular velocities. And here's a good example. I was actually out here testing this weekend my #1 Mark III Lee Enfield, which I have sitting on the table. We're about to shoot it. And I fired several different profiles of bullet. They are all the exact same grain weight with the exact same charge, exact same bullet, what's the word I was going to say? Same grain weight, same charge. They're all the same hardness because they were literally made from the same batch of lead. They all use the same bullet lube. That's what I was trying to say there. They're all the same exact bullet diameter. Like, everything is exactly the same about these bullets other than the profile of the projectile itself. And the Lee Enfield that I have here, 2 of the 3 styles of lead round I brought out for it ended up keyholing. And it wasn't a problem with leading because after all of our testing, I ran some more of those bullets that it seems to like, those cast lead rounds that it seems to like. No keyholing from those. So it is the profile of projectile that is keyholing with this particular Lee Enfield. And maybe if you have a number 1 Mark III, your number 1 Mark III might like that particular style of projectile. Like, there's so many different things that each individual rifle is going to like or dislike. Like, for example, I got a 30-40 Krag sitting right there that I've also been testing this weekend. That particular one likes heavy bullets. However, I've messed with other rifles in that same caliber with that same twist rate, and those ones like lighter weight bullets. I don't know. Your individual gun is going to tell you what it likes based off of your load that you make for that particular rifle. And of course, if you're having accuracy issues with everything and you're doing everything else properly, maybe try backing off on the velocity a little bit. I noticed that with cast lead rounds, the faster they go, the less accuracy that you're going to have. I don't necessarily know why. I'm sure it's because the lead's tearing itself up inside of the barrel. But if you're rocking 2,000 feet per second with your hard cast rounds and you're getting abysmal accuracy, maybe try backing off to 1,900 feet per second, 1,800 feet per second, maybe even slower than that, depending on what it is that you're using. So I try to get as much velocity as possible because I want my cartridges to be as effective on target as possible. But that's just not always the case. So with these bullet diameters that my Lee Enfield doesn't like, well, not bullet diameters, these bullet profiles that my Lee Enfield doesn't like, I'm going to try different velocities to see if I can get it to eat those bullets a little bit better. So now we're going to sit down. I got a paper plate out at about 50 yards, and I'm going to show you guys how all of the steps that you can take to make a cast lead round accurate doesn't always matter if your particular gun doesn't like it. Because out here testing, I have 3 different kinds of rounds. I'm just going to send 2 different kinds in this particular video because I'm running out of ammo. But these right here are 303 British rounds, and they're pointed bullets. And the Lee Enfield likes this profile of bullet for its cast rounds. Like, it'll eat basically any jacketed bullet that I throw through it. But it seems to prefer this particular style of bullet whenever I'm launching cast lead rounds through it. So I tried firing these, and I tried firing these round nose, and then I have some flat nose, and they're all different like profiles of projectile and whatnot. But they're all the same exact grain weight, they're all the same exact charge, same bullet lube, same diameter, same everything. The only difference is, I guess the Lee Enfield doesn't like these, but it does like these. So we're gonna sit down. I guess I'll shoot the ones that it likes first at our paper plate down there, and we'll see if it keyholes. Maybe I just got really lucky firing those rounds in that test, and the Lee Enfield just so happened to not keyhole these rounds, but I think it's a pretty safe assumption to say probably not, because I did it twice, and it worked twice. So we're going to do it a 3rd time, because 3rd time's the charm. I only have 2 of these rounds left, so we're going to do a 2-shot group, but that should be enough to tell if these rounds are going to be keyholing or not. All right, firing. There's one. Ow. The recoil of the rifle bounced it up and it hit my chin. That does not feel all that great. Come on, you. Ah, bro, why are you being so difficult? This magazine on this particular SMLE is not great. Okay, I feel like I pulled that one, so the group size probably is not going to be great, but we're just looking to see if it keyholes or not. All right, so here are the rounds that are the cast rounds that this particular SMLE likes. As you can see, they're nice round holes, or at least relatively round holes, because the plate was sitting kind of like this out there. But they're good enough for me to know that it's not keyholing. So Now we're going to see some rounds that are keyholing, and it's going to be very clear that those rounds are keyholing because they're going to be nice and long on this particular paper plate. So we're going to set this up, fire these other profiles of bullet, same exact everything as the ones that we just shot, except those ones this SMLE does not like. Alright, my paper plate's leaning again, but it should be pretty evident that these rounds are going to keyhole. Also, I'm just going to load these ones one at a time because this magazine is just awful. Alright, cast lead rounds that the SMLE in fact does not like. Let's watch them keyhole. There's one round. Whew, these brass rounds are hot though. I guess we'll do a 3-shot group, why not? There's 2 rounds. Oh boy, I could see that hole from here. It's a good one. All right, that's three rounds. So I know I hit the plate at least once. Let's go grab that bad boy. Whew. Look at that. We had a case rupture. That's what happens whenever you load your rounds on repeat. You eventually wear them out to the point to where they're not usable no more. Okay, here's a really good example of a round that keyholes, and these particular projectiles just seem to have a habit of keyholing through this thing. So I do see we got 1-2 rounds that don't look too bad, but this one right here has very obviously keyholed. We're only shooting at about 50 yards. If we were to touch out to longer distances, I doubt that we could even hit this plate. So there we go. In order to find what your rifle likes, you have to just kind of load up some stuff and take it out and test it and try to see and figure out what your rifle likes. So hopefully you guys learned something in this particular video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I am out of paper plates. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.